I am ready to start Simplicity S9744, and I wanted to have it for Christmas, so I've got 10 days I think till Christmas. And what I like to do is take out my fabric, take out my patterns. I'm going to still iron the pattern pieces so they're nice and flat, and then I start cutting. Cutting out took longer than usual because I had to try and match the stripes and the plaids as I went along. My first step is to overlock the sides, and while I'm overlocking, I'm adding the pockets to all the side seams, and I've overlocked the middle front and the middle back. And now for the sleeves, I'm just going to overlock that V because that's going to become a dart on the shoulder, and then also overlock the side seams. I need to show you my Achilles heel. I need to put Violin on these pieces, and because that's another step in the process, I need submission because I have to get the iron, set it up, get the Violin, iron it on. And in my workroom, everything was set up so I could just do a little bit at a time and everything was easily accessible. And now it's not. So it's still better than most people, but it's not, the flow is not as good. And I find it hard to finish stuff just because of that. There's a few other reasons, but this is one of the reasons. Last day of 2023 and I'm trying to finish some things. I'm busy with ironing the interfacing onto all the stuff for the top. I've pinned the back seams. The shoulder seams is raglan, so I've pinned that and tried to match up the stripes in the front and the back. And now I'm going to sew them all. And the thing is, I worked on it yesterday, but I didn't finish it. Yesterday was the 31st of December 2023, and today is the 1st of January 2024. And I wanted to finish all of these things before the end of the year, but it didn't happen. So my strategy is to pin when I have a moment, and then to sit and sew just that what I've pinned. And so if I finish these 5 seams, then it's 5 things closer to my end result. Next up is to overlock all the things that I've sewed together already. And then I can put in the facings in the front and do the collar. I am busy pinning all the stripes together so that they can match. But I've just realized I cut the sleeves wrong. They don't match. Oh well, it's just one of those things. At least the side seams match and all the other seams do. All the seams are together. I've managed to pattern match most of it, except on the other undersleeve. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't even think about that. So with this top, I have now sewn the sleeves in, I've done the back seam, and I've done the front seam. So I've sewed the top collar part together, turned it out, and now I'm going to pin it into the second part of the collar. So you will take it, line up your pattern markings like that, and then just pin it together, sandwiching the top color between the bottom color, like that. And now I am going to sew it with a half a centimeter seam allowance right around. The color is this far. I'm so sad. I almost matched up, but I just didn't make it. And then I thought I could turn it around, but it's the same. So that's done. The next step is to put the placards in, and then I can put the collar on. Next, I ironed it all down and pinned the placards in place. And I'm now going to sew them down, and then I can put the collar on. So it's making progress. I hope to finish it today, but I've been saying that forever and a day. I mean, this project has been going on since before Christmas. So let's see if I can finish it so I can start wearing it. It's the 1st of February and I would like to get it in my wardrobe before spring comes. I am now sewing the placket opening and also the pleat down the front. So here is my beef with the big 5. Look at this. So I usually just do what I think is the right thing and I wing it. But I'm really trying to start following patterns because I cannot have an opinion of patterns if I don't know how they work. If you look at this, they have so my on the pattern piece itself, it said stitch there and then you stitch there. But there's no clear line. And then there is like a centimeter, or these two pieces needs to come together in the middle. But then if you look at that part there, it shows it like that. So then when you get to the placket, you sew it in place and it is halfway over that seam there. So I would suggest first do your plackets. Don't follow the instructions on this. First do your plackets and then let them meet over each other, because that's what plackets are supposed to do, like there. And then only do that pleat down there, because I've just sewed the pleat and it's completely wrong. Okay, so my plackets are pinned in place. I've lined up my stripes. I hope it works out. I'm going to sew it now and then I'll do the next step. I don't know if you saw it, but I felt got thick here, and then I realized half of my fabric was almost being caught. From this bottom part was almost being caught. So always make sure you don't have anything that's caught underneath, because then you will have to unpick. And I'm just top stitching here on this side. I've pinned on the back side because I just find it pulls the bottom part in place better, so that you don't skip it when you sew it. Because sometimes you would be sewing on the right side and you would have a lot of the back part that you have to go and catch them afterwards. Okay, I've pinned them together, the two plackets, and now I'm going to do the pleat for there. So I turn it inside out and I'm going to put another pin to keep the two plackets together. And then I am going to bring it together and sew it down where the pleat needs to be. So the two plackets have been put together like that, and then I folded my pleat and I pinned it in place, and I am now going to sew on that line right through. I don't go too fast because I keep my pins in and slowly sew over them. It just prevents everything from moving, and this way I don't have to tack. Okay, let's turn it around, and there it is. And that fold that you see there, I will just iron that flat afterwards. But I'm quite happy with this. I think it came out really nice. I am now going to pin the collar in place. I'll figure it out as I go. I haven't sewn for so long that I actually struggle today. It's quite interesting to see how my head's not working at the moment. It was such a nice afternoon, so I went for a walk and now it's dark outside. But I've pinned the collar and I'm going to sew it now and I'll continue tomorrow. I actually do think I like it. The collar is not sewn down yet and the arms still need their cuffs. And I think I'm just going to sew it up until there and then just do a few buttonholes for the rest. Just put the buttons and make fake buttonholes. But I like it. I didn't think I would, but I actually do like this color. Let me come closer. I'm not a color person, but I think this can work, especially for winter. Finally finished sewing and it's time for tea. This is some elderflower tea. And look at this nice teapot and cup that my friend's got. And she said I can use it. So I'm so chuffed. Look at that. Oh, I love elderflower tea. It's the best. So I've got all my sewing set up there for tomorrow. And I'm going to have tea and then sit and knit for a bit. There's a pair of socks that's almost finished. And I'm quite excited to get them done. Good morning. I've finished my work for the day, so now I can get back to sewing. Last night I sewed the collar on, and I now need to do the little clips and then pin the bottom part of the collar into place so I can sew it down. I think I will do that by hand, and then I need to do the cuffs and the hem and finish the pockets. And then this one is done. Oh, the buttonholes. I don't like doing buttonholes, but the buttonholes need to happen, so that's something else that needs to be done. So with having a little kindergartner in the house, my immune system has had a shock of its life. I am not used to all the bugs and stuff that's coming home with him. So at the moment I've got a cold. Shame he had it worse than me, and it is actually just in my nose, my sinuses, and a little bit in my head, but I don't really feel sick and my voice gets funny sometimes. But for that reason I made some pine needle pine needle tea, and it's very good for respiratory infections and colds and flus. So I was walking this morning, and just up the hill there's a pine tree. It's been pushing new needles, and then I make some tea and I have that. So I'm going to have my tea now, and then I will get going on this. When I do a collar, I like to cut away the excess. Like on the seams, you just cut away where the seam go into that top seam. And then I also do my little knips where it will fold in. Then with buckets, I like to overlock them. But this part here, you usually struggle to get in there. So what I do is I just zigzag that little part. Because then if I don't catch it with the overlocker, I know it's still secure. So let's do that quickly. Because the thing is, with the overlocker, you have a chance that you actually could cut off some of the fabric that you don't want to be cut off. Or you could sew something into a seam where it doesn't belong. And now I've got enough leeway to stop before I get too close to that seam and then catch stuff that I don't want to catch. So the next part is the cuff, where the slit is, before you put the cuff on. And the pattern will tell you to do this before you put the sleeve in. Listen to the pattern on this one, because it's much easier. And I'm now going to pin it. You open it up and you just pin and sew it like that. It was a beautiful, foggy Sunday afternoon, and I sat down with a cuppa, a nice movie and a candle burning, and did all the handwork. Now usually you can do these things with your sewing machine, but I love to sometimes just take the time and do some slow stitching to finish something that I would really appreciate later on. And this collar and the cuffs were one of those situations. I have sewed the collar down. I didn't want a line of stitching, and sometimes I just like to do hand sewing. And now I am going to do buttonholes. Okay, I think I have just understand and found out why buttonholes is not so difficult for some people. This little machine, the Bernette B38, has a buttonhole foot. Now my machine is a buttonhole maker, the Bernina 1008, but it's quite an old machine and it's not electronic at all. But I think I would be able to make buttonholes now without freaking out every time. I have marked my buttonholes out and now I'm going to sew them. I think I have a new favorite tool. I don't think you can sew without this. Oh, you can, but it's going to be hard. But this is amazing. So you take your button up here, and so you put it in and it holds it. And then you put your foot in its position. This little black thing needs to be in front of that to keep it in place. Otherwise, it will keep on sewing backwards into oblivion because there's nothing telling it where to stop. Oh, I'm learning with you today. And then you can start. First step is to put the needle on the further side of the buttonhole. Okay. Oh, my goodness. I have done it. Look at that. Almost perfect buttonholes. I'm really chuffed. Now I can sew the buttons on. I am now doing the gathering stitches on the sleeves, and I like to do 3 rows because if some one of those gathering stitches break, then I still have some of the others that I can count on to pull it in. And then when I'm done with this, I can put on the cuffs, and then I can do the hem, and then this top is finally finished. I'm really excited. This has been such a long process, and I think sometimes when you don't feel comfortable in the space where you have to work, it can actually cause you not to finish jobs that you are excited about, but you just don't have the energy or the capacity to do it. And I must say, this has been one of those jobs. I wanted it in my wardrobe and I wanted it done, but the space that I was working in was just not working for me. Because over there, I didn't like that it was so dark. The table was 2 inches too low. Now, it sounds like not a big deal, but the thing is, if your table is too low, or if you have not the right setup, or if it's cramped, it can actually really affect your ergonomics of working. And I would find that I would work for half an hour and every part of my body would be in pain. Like my back would be sore and my hips would cramp and my knees would be sore. And I couldn't understand what was going on until I really started measuring and working it out, because at one stage I was involved in interior design and I know about the ergonomics of workspaces. And so it was so interesting to actually realize that my workspace was not ergonomic. So this is something I would like you to consider. If you struggle to sit down and sew and to get your stuff done, maybe go and check out your sewing space. Maybe the table is not right, or your chair is not right, or the light is not right, because all of those things can play such a massive role in your level of productivity. I can pack this away because I finished it. It's always such a nice feeling when you are able to pack things away. And that's actually something I want you to think about. We always see these people on YouTube, and I've been one of those, who finish things so quickly, and they've got like 7 items to show and then another 7 the next week. I was like that also. And this whole experience of traveling and trying to sew while I'm traveling has taught me to actually appreciate the time I have to sew, firstly, and secondly, to also value the items I'm making. Because I think of the time when I used to make a lot of things, a lot of it was for clients, but of the last year, I sold, of all the things that I made, I sold 5 of those things, and I gave 2 away, because firstly, there was no space in my suitcase, but secondly, they were not my favorites. So I'd rather sew my favorites and have 1 thing, and it takes me 3 months, than sew 7 things, and only 1 of those I really want to keep.